while I was there, it was immediately after the restoration of multi-party democracy in Kenya, the repeal of Section 2A, and a group of people led by ICJ, in short, came together, a group of organizations, religious organizations, professional bodies, women's organization, FIDA was included, and ICJ came together and established what was known as National Election Monitoring Unit. Everyone was involved in sort of charting the way to observe elections in 1992. And so it was learning on the spot, and we trained, we were supporters, we were support staff, and there was a team that was training people for provision of voter education and preparation for the observation of that election. And that was the first time that I interacted with elective politics. And I was very intrigued, and I thought, in addition to my desire to pursue human rights, this is an opportunity. Madam Chairperson, from there, and I will mention only the positions I've played, the jobs I have held that are relevant to this position. So I will move to the next one that is aligned to the job that I'm applying for. And that was, I was employed at the Institute for Education in Democracy from there. And it was at the IED that I specialized in this area. What do I mean by this? This was an organization that was focusing on electoral processes, programs, implementing and managing programs in electoral process, in providing voter education, training, and participating in observation missions in Kenya and outside the country, and also in research. Madam Chairperson, when I joined IED, because the executive director was ailing at the time, we didn't have money. And therefore, it was important for me to make a decision very quickly, whether I wanted to be in this organization or not, because I stayed for 7 months without being paid. But there was something about Miss Grace Githu, the late Grace Githu, because she died a few months after I joined. The way she inspired me, and this is what drove me to commit myself to this organization, because Miss Grace Githu made me feel good about myself, made me feel very passionate about this. And as I said, sometimes you learn leadership through observation. It was observing this lady that I knew it was important to commit oneself to the democratization process of our own country. She was also a patriot. I realized that it is in serving your people that you get the greatest satisfaction. And I also learned many things from that organization, but one thing that I came out with was the importance of working in a team and delivering as one. I also learned that when you are a leader in a team, it is critical that the first thing you do is to ensure that everybody understands the vision of where we need to go, how we need to get there, and therefore the methods of work are very, very important, and with whom. And she made sure and taught all of us that we needed to communicate clearly, and we needed to carry everyone, even if it meant carrying them in a stretcher. And therefore, that's when I understood clearly that leadership matters. I also understood that teamwork is really the only way to succeed. From IED, I also learned, Madam Chairperson, distinguished panel members, that you can do so much with so little when you have the commitment and when you know where you want to go. And it is very important because we didn't have money, as I said. So the first thing we decided to do was to try to establish the credentials for the organization, including preparing a strategic plan and fundraising strategies and all the strategies, what you call, internal systems, putting everything into place and trying to identify and map out who can help us achieve our goals. And so there is a lot that I learned from IED, and I hope I can be able to demonstrate during the answering of the other questions. So I will go to the next post that I worked in, and that was after I left IED, because when I joined IED, actually I had told the board, the members of the board, that I was not going to stay there for more than 5 years because I wanted to try new things and work in different places. I always go to an organization with the end in mind, so that I give myself the time and I give myself the opportunity to have a vision of what I want to live in that organization. So I left IED after 6 years, not the 5 years, but there was reasons, because I needed to finalize some of the things I was doing. I had hoped to set myself as a consultant, and I actually did, and I carried a number of training courses using the bridge curriculum that I mentioned a little earlier. And I worked for a number of civil society organizations, intergovernmental organizations, election management bodies in Tanzania, in South Africa, in Malawi, in different places, just for purposes of training, for purposes of advising and doing consultancy work. After that, Madam Chairperson, I went to work for the United Nations Development Program, the Governance and Democracy Program in South Sudan. This was a short-term consultancy where I used the bridge curriculum to train trainers in the original 10 states of South Sudan. And it is from there that I appreciated how fortunate a country like Kenya is, where we have peace, where we have opportunities, and where we have political stability and the meaning of that. Before that, actually, there's something I learned from being an observer in South Africa in 1994. I got an opportunity through the World Council of Churches to go and observe that election. Madam Chairperson, there is one lesson that endures with me to date, and that is the importance of universal suffrage. It was the first time black people were, Africans were participating in an election in their own country. And to see sick people and old people and people who were frail wanting to go out to vote, it really made me appreciate the things that we always take for granted. And therefore, Madam Chairperson, while I was in South Sudan, I was invited, I was headhunted to go and support the panel of the Secretary General of United Nations for the referenda in South Sudan and Abyei. And this was headed by Kappa. And there, Madam Chairperson, I was in charge of out-of-country voting. And from there, Madam Chairperson and distinguished panelist, I got the opportunity of, I want to just steadily move forward. I learned many things there about organizing, about being, about planning, and also about communicating, and about providing leadership, strategic leadership, and working with others. I came back, and I was the next useful position that really displayed and taught me a lot was my position at the United Nations when I was appointed Kenya's ambassador and deputy permanent representative in New York. There, Madam Chairperson, we worked with 193 member states, used 6 languages, and interacted with people from different cultures, with varied interests. And it was important for us to find who we needed to ally ourselves with in order to advance Kenya's national interests. Each one of all the member states were depending on instructions from capital, and therefore to lobby, therefore to build trust, to build consensus, and to bring them to support your cause and to negotiate with you in good faith took a lot of tactics, because it was important. But what was also interesting is that's when I learned to work under pressure. And Madam Chairperson, I hope with this introduction to myself, I have set the stage to be able to answer the questions from distinguished panelists and yourself. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Balozi. Allow me to ask you if you are a registered voter.
Yes, Madam Chairperson, I learned the importance of voting from 1992, and I have participated in a lot of by-elections as well. And yes, I am a registered voter, and I last voted in 26th of October 2017 in my village at a school called Kwangendo Secondary School.
Thank you so much. I will now request Mr. Morris Kimuli to ask you a few questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Koki.
Yes, Mr.
Can I call you
Kimuli?
Koki?
Yes, please.
If there is a bar to participation of state officers in elections, does a state officer include the president?
Yes, but the president is exempt under the constitution, the president, the deputy, and members of parliament.
Is the president allowed to use state resources in political party campaigns?
No, not directly. But when you are president, you don't cease to be president. You will have security with you. You will have some of the trappings of power to be able, because we need to protect our president.
If a president is running for re-election and he's campaigning and he is using state vehicles and is supplying state machinery, do you think there is a breach of the law and the constitution?
Supplying state machinery, yes.
So if you are a commissioner and you see a fleet of GK vehicles a few days to the election and the president is campaigning, does the commission have any powers to deal with that?
Under the law, there are certain things that the commission needs to... Yes, the answer is yes.
What powers?
Well,